welcome to another episode of High Voltage. I'm your host, internationally best-selling published author, MacKenzie Nelson, and I'm just so happy that you could be here today to tune in and hopefully gain some insights that are going to get you, really excited about applying some new concepts maybe you haven't thought of before that are going to strengthen your relationships and give you a fuller return on your investment in these relationships. Because guys, time is our currency. It's all we have. And when you're giving your time in relationships, you are building something with the people you are involved in relationships with, whether that's an acquaintance, whether it's your husband, your kids, friendships. We are all supposed to be getting something for what we're giving. And you're giving time. You are giving the only precious resource you have to these investments. And so if you haven't really thought about who you're surrounded by and how they're impacting you, you could be aligned with the complete wrong people and always feeling just like you're just not hitting it on the mark. Like everything you do for these people is just not quite good enough. If you don't show up at everything they invite you to, they're so mad at you the next time they see you. And that causes constant conflict in your life and can make you feel like, you just don't matter much to people. And when you think it's you not mattering to these people, then it really impacts your worth and sends you on this downward spiral mentally because you aren't feeling valued by the people you're investing in relationships with. And I can tell you from my own experience, it could truly just be the people you are surrounded by that are constantly, coming in on you and making you feel worthless. And when you are someone like me who's humble, I used to just apologize to these people over and over, and I would cry and feel so sad that no matter what I did for my friends or my family, it was never enough. They always expected more. The bar was constantly being higher. No matter what I did, nobody ever felt like I was a valued contribution in their life, or they didn't voice that to me. There was always a problem with anything I did in every single relationship towards friends I was invested in relationships with. So I was constantly going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out how to change my behavior to please these people. And then I'd try a new strategy and be like, well, that didn't work. I missed an event. I'll make sure and go to all of their things. And so I show up at all of the things now. And then it's, you didn't bring the right food, or there was just always a reason why what I was doing for these friends or for my family wasn't quite cutting it. And so I went through a medical journey, which is documented in my book, My Father's Feathers. And I was trying to figure out what was wrong. My body felt like it was just giving up. Like I had pain, like a 9 out of 10 pain up and down my body all the time. Like I was so exhausted. I felt heavy and tired and just completely depleted. And I was so confused. And when I would reach out to these people for support, specifically my mom, she would just be like, oh, like you're still struggling with that again? Like what's going on with you? Can't you get it together? And so I would feel even worse after these calls, or I'd go to one of my friends who was like, you should be using essential oils. You're handling everything the wrong way. I would feel worse about myself. So all of this was just feeding into this vicious mental cycle that was just keeping me down and depleted, just being kicked over and over again by people in my life. Well, what I've realized is looking back at the blueprint that I was given, we are each given a blueprint for relationships, whether you're aware of this or not, by the home that you grew up in. So whether you had a healthy blueprint, it's like two parents who loved one another and who showed you love and told you you're worthy. I love you no matter what. Unconditional love is such a healthy blueprint. Not that your parents were perfect, because we're all going to have things, right? We're imperfect people, but that you felt loved well. That is the standard I'm talking about, to have a healthy blueprint in the way you were raised. If you left your upbringing with an impartation of worthiness and of, you could apply yourself and have success, then your parents did a great job raising you. However, if you were thrust out into the world like I was, kicked out of your home and pretty much homeless in the next few months, pregnant, and still not welcome back in your home, you most likely had a very traumatic, unhealthy blueprint that you were given. And here's the thing, guys, you gotta look at people with love because it's not an equal playing field out there, okay? Some of us are dealt a full hand at birth, loving parents, support, everything you could possibly need to have a nurturing upbringing, while others of us, we don't ever get to meet, a biological parent, or the one parent is terrible to us and trying to turn the whole family against you because they are determined that you are the issue. You being born, you should not be here. So I'm just going to make your life horrible. And that's what I was dealt. I was dealt, a bunch of twos. I had to figure out what to do, how to play these crappy cards that I got dealt in life. And I had a lot of, anger, I think, at God for like, hey, why does this little girl over there get to know her dad, and mine, is in the mafia killing people. And if I try to look him up, he might kill me, or my mom, which is exactly what she told me all those years growing up. You'll never meet him. He killed people. You try to find him, he's going to kill me or he's going to kill you. This was the hand I had to play. And so, read my book if you want to hear about the specifics, but I'll fast forward you through all of it and get to today. God stepped in and really taught me one day at a time, one moment at a time, how to really be led through my relationships, because I didn't know the blueprint that I was given was rotten. And I knew what not to do, but what do I do? How do I become the best mother to Nevada, my 6-year-old little girl, my son Lincoln, who is 11, and a supportive, kind wife to my husband, Brett, when my mother spent the duration of my upbringing just shattering my dad's self-esteem, his self-worth, ripping him to shreds in front of us as kids, turning us against. He wasn't my biological father, but he was the man who raised me. My mom and dad met, when she was already pregnant with me. And so because she was worried she was going to get, extradited from her Mennonite family because my grandmother said she was bringing shame on the family by having me, she came up with a lie to save herself, and in the process threw me under the bus. And so I've had to do a lot of healing, and this wisdom that I'm sharing didn't come cheaply. It came with a lot of tears. It came with a lot of trial and error. And I'm just grateful to be positioned now in a powerful place where I recognize the unhealthiness. I recognize the patterns, the red flags of manipulative game playing people. So here are some of the things that I have really learned. The first thing is you want to look for patterns, okay? You want to look for patterns of behavior. Okay, people have bad days, right? We also have to extend grace in relationships and understand that we can't have a standard of perfection. We can't hold someone to a standard that we wouldn't hold ourselves to. So it is so easy to be harder on other people, and if you are being really hard on people in relationships in your life and you have the bar this high to where they can't miss one event in your life without hearing an earful from you, you have the bar way too high for people, and you're probably doing a lot of damage in the relationships that you have and creating animosity, because there is kind of this backlash after a while, after you put someone down that long, where they're just going to get to a point where it's just I can't take this anymore. This isn't fun. And relationships you're invested in, they should be fun. You should feel excited to meet with people. You should feel like you are with, sunshine when you're with friends, especially if you're a mom of littles like me and you're out there navigating. Time away from home should be precious, and you need to be selective. right? Where you're going and who you're hanging out with, and pay attention to how you feel after those interactions. Because I really just went from interaction to interaction before and just kind of shoved everything down. Like if I felt violated or I felt like betrayed, I was taught by my mother to listen to words and to ignore actions, because everything she did was always contradictory to what she said. So what I learned was, don't trust actions, trust words. And it really messed up my life and relationships for a really long time, because I didn't have any way to hold people accountable. If they said one thing and did something else, I would always take that as like, I must have done something wrong somehow. This isn't on them, this is on me, I misunderstood. So look out for people whose words never match their actions. They're always telling you these things are going to happen or they'll be there, but when push comes to shove, they're not there. They're not doing the things they promised you, the things they told you. You know, it's just really an empty well all of the time, and you're always kind of confused. That's how I felt, like a haze. Like, what is this? Like, do they not like me? What am I doing, that's making me unlikable? And I mean, yes, there's, two people invested in a relationship, so it goes both ways. So it's good to be introspective. But if you are caught in a pattern of always taking responsibility and accountability for how someone is unhappy with you, and that tends to be more of the context, more of the dialogue in your friendships, that's a red flag. We don't have this much time to invest in people if maybe it's just not a connection. It's not working for you. They want something else. It's best just, to part ways and take your time and reinvest it in other people. Look, maybe you haven't found your people yet. I haven't found all of my people yet either. And that is okay. It's a journey and it takes a while, I think, in life. And maybe you were blessed with best friends from birth and you guys still have this amazing connection and this fabulous relationship. And I think that is amazing. You got it right from the go. Way to go. Share some of your insights with the world and help the rest of us, have stronger relationships if this is you. This hasn't been my walk. So these tools have served me really, really well. Other people that you should look for red flags with being invested in relationships are, they love hearing about your struggles. Like when I was having a hard time, I was like, oh my gosh, you'd almost hear people I used to be invested with, like smiling, like good. I mean, I'm so sorry. But then when good things happened in my life, there were no congratulations. They were always just wanting to hear about how things were going bad for you. But when things were going good, they were just MIA. And this was a lot of the toxicity in a lot of my relationships. Like, I didn't feel like anyone was rooting for me to be successful. It was almost like, we knew you'd fall on your face when things were going bad, but when things got better, it was just like chirp, 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 like nothing, just crickets, just waiting until until you fell down again so they could talk to you more about how bad you suck. Basically, another red flag is these toxic people tend to Trojan horse your life. I got this from a conversation working out with a friend. So thank you for sparking this for me. So basically in my life, the way it was set up, I was getting my sister job after job after job. She probably got like 3 or 4 jobs out of the places where I worked. I would give her an excellent referral. It's my sister. She's wonderful. I love her. Of course, she's family, so I'll do anything for her. So I would get her on at these jobs like I wrote about in my book. And she would Trojan horse my workplace. She would literally, manipulate these people into believing, I'm this terrible person. I'm an awful sister. And she would cause drama with people I never had a problem with because they love to hear the juicy gossip about, oh, I thought MacKenzie was like on the up and up and a good person. But clearly if her sister is, talking smack about her, it must not be the case. She must not be as good, as she's acting or proclaiming to be. So she would muddy the waters and kind of make people feel uncertain about me everywhere I went. And like the whole atmosphere would change for me. And it wasn't until one of my good friends, we were waitressing at Applebee's, she finally looked at me and was like, how do you put up with this? Like, she is terrible to you. Like, do you hear the things she says about you to people all the time? Like, how do you do this? And it's just like, I kind of hung my head like, this is just how it is for me and my family. Like, this dynamic, this toxicity, my mom would do the same thing. She would Trojan horse my life with my friends all the time. I'd introduce her and she would just put me down. She would openly put me down and humiliate me in front of my friends where everyone's laughing, but also kind of like in a, like, oh my gosh, is this like, I don't know, is this a talk show? Like, is this Jerry Springer? Like, calling her daughter all these names in front of us, putting her down, shaming her. And it always made things very awkward and very uncomfortable. And it finally it's gotten to a point finally where it's like, I'm not going to let anyone in my space who wants to Trojan horse my life. If I'm going around with you and I'm speaking well of you and you are doing the opposite, I am alerted to this, and it's only a matter of time before we're not hanging out anymore. You need to be surrounded in relationships with people who speak well of you when you are not in the room. And the way you find that out is by meeting their mutual friends and just watching the nonverbal expressions, watching their body language. I mean, I can pick up a lot now on what other people say about me to other people by how they respond when we're introduced, by how, they want to interact with me, by how much they speak to me. I can tell what my friend has been speaking about me. And so far, in all of the newer relationships I've invested in, I haven't seen any red flags with close friends. And it's been such a change. And it's really helped me, to feel encouraged in this journey to keep encouraging people, guys. Because, if you know someone whose podcast you watch all the time besides mine, or if there's someone out there that really just lights up your world, tell them, you guys, because I guarantee you the most positive of us are the least encouraged out there, because I think everyone assumes you're positive, you're bringing this, so you don't struggle there. And that's not always the case. People who put themselves on the line to encourage others often need it even more than a lot of other people. So keep that in mind. Next time someone kind of rocks your world with some wisdom or some insights, reach out. Let them know, that you really value what they bring and how much they impact your life. I think the last thing I would say as a huge red flag is, do you feel that you can disagree with the people you are in relationships with? Do you feel they're tactful with you when they disagree? Or if you disagree with something, do they get angry? Do they start, getting on the defensive and saying unflattering things about you just because you don't think along the same lines? It's a red flag. People get mad when you disagree with them. I think they get mad mostly because they aren't secure enough in their own viewpoints to feel like they're comfortable with anyone disagreeing with them. They're so insecure on the inside that anger is just such a quick access emotion. We usually go straight to anger, when we're not really sure how to respond to something. And that, if you're not sure how to respond, it's almost like it makes you mad, like you don't know. And I think that's what's going on with these red flag toxic disagreeers. I've had a lot of conversations with people about God, and people who are atheists or who don't believe, I think they assume that based on a lot of the other conversations they've had about God with people, they expect me to get my feathers in a ruffle. Feathers. They expect me to get like all hot and bothered and like, how dare you not agree with what I'm saying? No, I don't. And I think that floors people more than anything. So keep that in mind, guys. If you believe what you believe, why do you feel threatened? Why do people have to agree with you? Why isn't it enough for you to stand and shine in your own belief system? You can believe anything you want to, and it shouldn't make you mad that someone else disagrees with your belief system, because it's yours, it's personal to you, and it's not theirs. So make sure you're having respectful interactions with friends who aren't jumping down your throat because you don't see eye to eye. It's also a key indicator that that person has control issues, and they're going to try to manipulate you to do the things they want you to do. So save some time. listen to these red flags that I've assessed, that I've found. They have saved me a lot of time and heartache. And it's a quick way to kind of cut through the muck of friends out there and relationships and figure out, who's kind of using you as a pawn, moving you around on their friend chessboard, and who's just really bringing their heart, bringing themselves, and open to the adventure that your friendship provides, because you are valuable, right? Like, don't just get involved and stay in relationships with people because you're comfortable. Your comfort zone could be just like the frog, right? I love this. I've used this example so many times. It's like when you have a cold pot of water and you put a frog in it, and then you slowly turn up the dial, he won't jump out. He'll boil to death because he doesn't notice how toxic, how hot he's boiling alive, but he doesn't feel it. Now, if you took the frog out and put boiling hot water on the stove and put him in, he would jump right back out because he would know it was too hot and would want nothing to do with it. Well, you could be invested. You could be boiling to death in these relationships like I was. It was impacting my health. It was so disturbing how I was being treated. I was constantly not cared for by people who were telling me they were caring for me, but their actions were different than what they were saying. And I finally caught on, and it has helped me so much, and it will continue to propel me forward as I look for these red flags. I look to support people mostly, but when they pop up, I no longer know it's me, like I'm no longer like, oh my gosh, it's my fault, and I should just look past that, because that's what I was taught growing up. So I've been able to unravel the blueprints that I was raised with in my home to understand how all of it fit together and why I am in the relationships I'm in, and how are they helping me? How am I feeling in these partnerships and in these relationships? I guess one more thing a lot of people do that's a huge red flag is if they have an argument with you, it should stay between you guys. There's no need for that person to go into your friend group or your family and turn everyone against you because they have a problem with you. So look for these signs in people if they're always trying to get you, to ally against someone else with them. Otherwise, you're not friends. That's a red flag. And honestly, that's going to turn on you. Watch how people treat other people, because eventually, don't be naive. I was for a long time and thought, oh, they would never treat me that way. They will. It's coming for you. Don't think just because they treat someone else that way that it's not coming for you guys. Well, I hope you've found some valuable insights today that are going to help you have better relationships moving forward. Don't play games, you guys. It's an immature mindset. Don't partner with people who haven't worked their own stuff out. It's just going to come at you. Look for maturity in relationships. People who have done the work, who have understood some key concepts about themselves, who are humble and understand that perfection isn't the point. Love always trumps perfection. All right, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.